Welcome to the Scariest Things podcast, your gateway to the trends and tropes of the horror genre. This is episode 180, and we are being haunted by movies that are the haunting of the street, the haunting of the asylum, the haunted of Jennifer, Chris, Dennis,
Julia,
Molly. Everybody's
Alexis,
haunted. A lot
Eric,
of Julia's
Liz.
got haunted. This is Everything Goes. The haunting of.
Or the haunting in.
Or the haunting in. Or the haunting on. Or the haunted this.
This is preposition
Haunting
horror.
between.
This is
If it's haunted,
preposition horror.
Yeah.
It's game for
Yep.
this episode. I'm Liz Williams, and I am joined by...
Mike, preposition Campbell.
And Eric immediately.
Eric. That was good.
Yeah.
Mike, tell us why you've done this to us.
Well, so
This is Mike's idea, people.
So I have a whole elaborate reasoning, but really it was no more simple than logging on to Tubi and just looking at the sheer number of haunting movies, which led me over to IMdB to look at the number of films and TV shows that contain the word haunt or haunting, and it is 4,110 films.
Yeah.
Here's my hot take with the whole haunting of the whole concept behind haunting of, haunting in, and all the other
Haunting about.
all the other 10
Haunting on.
the
Around.
10 major prepositions. Not all haunting films involve ghosts. Which I was kind of shocked to learn because it seems like a natural fit, but it's not entirely. The TV haunting ofs or ins or abouts are better than the movies. Shudder, our good friends at Shudder, have literally nothing with the word haunt or haunting in them right now as of January 2024.
Okay.
As I already mentioned, haunt, or haunting, haunted come up thousands and thousands of times on IMdB. You literally would not have enough time to watch all the haunting or haunted or haunting
Well, I mean,
films
if you only stuck out for the first 30 seconds,
in a
like I
lifetime.
did, you could get through them.
Here's the thing I was very, very proud of. I went up to Movie Madness looking for two films. One was a 1979 film called The Haunting of M, which is a
Oh, yeah, I saw that come up.
couldn't find it anywhere. Couldn't find it
Sexy
online.
thriller.
Yeah, it's a sexy thriller. Movie Madness didn't have it, and I said, okay, great. I want to watch The Haunted House from 1928. They didn't have that one either. And I was like, oh my God, I stumped Movie
them.
Madness.
Well, I had a movie that I was holding out hope for that was going to break my streak of mediocre haunting of in around films. And that was The Haunting of Julia. Did you know? Did they have that? But I didn't make it to Movie Madness because
I thought that was on
it's not
the
available.
internet.
We will be talking about The Haunting of Julia.
That was
There
my
was like
that
two
was my great.
Julias that are haunted.
I saw the other one and it is dog
Okay.
shit.
Yeah,
So-
we'll be talking about The Haunting of Julia, and in fact, just last week, I think they released a 4K version of The Haunting of Julia.
It's a Mia Farrow movie.
Mia Farrow.
we will
yeah.
be talking about The Haunting of Julia.
It's the Great White Hope. That was the one where I thought it was going to be the one that was going to break my streak. I bet it is.
These were my five favorite haunting of titles.
Okay.
I found The Haunting of La Llorona, which is ridiculous.
Right.
The Haunting of Muffin Baker.
Oh, God, was it up?
The Haunting of Silver Falls, The Return.
Was it Silver Falls, Oregon, by the way?
They said small town.
Okay.
The Haunting of Hellhole Mine.
Oh, yeah, I saw that
And
one show up.
I love this one. Fear No Weevil. The hauntings in the City of Progress.
Okay. Well, you
God.
missed
Which
you missed a great one.
explores the rich paranormal history and eerie intrigue of Enterprise, Alabama.
Well, you missed one, Mike.
What's that?
Hillbillies in a Haunted House.
Oh, I actually watched
man.
Hillbillies in a Haunted House, and it was actually kind of fun.
Yeah.
Now,
It was.
I did watch it. I actually watched
I did
Hillbillies
too.
in a Haunted House.
I have to say for our listeners that we said no one could talk about The Haunting of Hill House in any iteration.
Right.
So just if you guys think like, why didn't they watch The Haunting of Hill House? That is why, because
Yes.
that's too good.
Yeah.
And Marissa from Jersey Ghouls always says so nicely that when we do a podcast, she gets out her notepad and like will pull over when she's driving to write down titles. Yep. Marissa, you can put that notepad away. I don't think you're going to need to write any of these down.
Correct me if I'm wrong. The Haunting is actually a variation on Hill House, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So that
Cross
takes
it off
both
your list, Eric.
the two great ones. So, and before I actually make the impression that I don't like ghost movies, I'm going to give you a rundown of some of the absolutely. We've talked about this in the past, but just as a reminder for everybody, how great ghost movies can be. So we have The Shining, The Haunting, Poltergeist, The Conjuring, Ghostbusters.
Seen it.
The Haunting of Hill House.
Seen it.
The Innocents. Also The Turn of the Screw. The Babadook. The Night, which is, I think, the one movie, if I'm going to go stump for any movie, I will go. That was my favorite movie from 3 years ago. The Wind. The Innkeepers. The Sentinel. The Others. The Creeping, which was last year, which was kind of cool. A little sneaky one for you. Ju-on. Ringu. The Night House. La Llorona, the 2020 one, not the Blumhouse one, and Paranormal Activity. There are some.
Talk about these.
There are some awesome ghost movies, and I don't want to make.
I did not hear the word haunting once.
No, because that was the thing.
You're hating the ghosts
because you can't watch. But there are some awesome ghost movies. They just usually don't have the word haunting in it.
Okay, let's. So
you're thinking if they put it in there, that's a tip-off that it's not going to be good because they're like, what do we call it? The haunting of.
Yeah. Well, now, there's also, I think, a trend of these pseudo-documentaries of...
Yes.
There's so many of them, and you have to look and make sure it's not a document.
I would say of the 4,110 films listed on IMdB with...
3,000 of them are...
Yeah, I would say at least half plus have got to be documentaries or TV shows. Yeah,
and a lot of them like Amityville-ish things that they go on haunted tours.
There is an Amityville haunting. I didn't do that one.
Yeah,
but
I also didn't list the Amityville Horror on these movies because that is overrated.
And the original I like.
And does not contain the word haunting.
No, it doesn't. But that was the list of I just rattled off a dozen great ghost movies that just to prove that I'm not just.
You're not a ghost hater.
Dunking on just ghosts.
Eric's not a ghost hater. Not a ghost hater. Right. Eric does not hate the undead.
So who's gonna start this party?
I will kick us off since I led us down this ghoulish path with a 1977 supernatural horror film directed by Richard Lon Crane, starring Mia Farrow. This is Full Circle, also known as, it was released in the United States as The Haunting of Julia.
There you go.
This, man, put this on your slow burn list because it's a slow burn. It's really creepy, not just because Mia Farrow tends to play sort of
awkward, creepy people.
Creepy people, but she definitely does in this case. But this film involves a young woman who, after the death of her daughter, finds herself haunted by the vengeful ghost of a young girl in her new home. Mia Farrow is going through a whole series of psychotic episodes, and she leaves her husband and strikes out on her own, getting a new place in London. And she is immediately haunted by a different, not the ghost of her daughter, but the ghost of a young girl in her home. It's man, I'll tell you, it's a creepy looking film. It's there are some definite scares. There is a, I think, pretty chilling ending to the film, but it is a slow burn. If you like films like, if you like sort of 1970s In Search of like paranormal type stuff, then this is for you. This also has, I don't know who did the soundtrack, got an incredible soundtrack. I think a lot of folks have come back and looked at this and compared it to Nicholas Roeg's Don't Look Now, which used to be on my top 25 list. It did slip off my top 25 list, but basically the film really explores that humans' relationship to death through through a child, and that sort of in particular, sort of the mother-daughter bond being that sort of really conducive entry point into to ghosts and a haunting. And I think it does it effectively well, not just because really Mia Farrow was kind of at the height of her acting chops at that point in the late 70s, but it's a well done film. I think it's really well done. And as I just mentioned, it did get re-released. I did watch a VHS copy on a 4K TV, which was silly, but that it did just get re-released with a 4K press, which I've not seen the 4K press. I'm sure it looks great. So yeah, go see The Haunting of Julia, aka Full Circle.
I don't know who's streaming it now, but I know that if you Google it, it says that it's available on Prime. It's not available on Prime right now. It's not on Netflix. It's not on Max. It's not on Tubi. I don't know where. You can find it.
There's some crappy copies on YouTube you can watch. Yeah. And I did start to watch them, but I was like,
wait for the 4K.
Yeah, the 4K is out, so yeah.
But I mean, now that it's on 4K, it should.
They might stream it.
They'll probably. Some Shudder or somebody will pick it up.
Yeah,
it looked intriguing. It has a pretty good Metacritic score. But it's
and a good cast.
It's a serious movie, and I think that unlike a lot of these other ones that I had to endure, that it had a budget. It had. Now, would you say that it has a solid, like the thing that makes or breaks a lot of these is whether there's a good haunting backstory. That why is there a ghost at this location or on this person?
There's a great backstory.
Yeah, so that's
really great backstory.
That's so important because I've seen so many of these where it's the haunt part of it is an afterthought.
Yeah.
And
in fact, I'm kind of surprised this hasn't been remade because it does involve aspects of peer pressure and bullying. And I was like, oh man, this is like
Carrie.
This is prime for 2024.
Okay.
Interesting.
All right. Liz, what do you got?
Okay, I went for cast on this one because I picked the 1996 made-for-TV movie, The Haunting of Patricia Johnson, starring Sharon Lawrence and Beau Bridges.
Oh,
yes.
I used to work with the Patricia
made
Johnson.
for TV.
And this was directed by Larry Shaw, who is just a television director who worked on tons of films like X-Files, Star Trek, Desperate Housewives, 21 Jump Street. So he's been around the TV circuit. And I will give you the summary. Inspired by true events, as most of these start out. After Patty Johnson gives birth to a stillborn child, she and her husband try to forget the tragedy. They move into a new house, but a number of supernatural phenomena that take place there lead them to believe the house is haunted. Patty turns to the town psychic, who confirms her suspicions about the ghost activity. The house is haunted by the spirit of a man who 75 years earlier killed his son and shot his wife in the house. And now the killer is after Patty's 3-year-old son, Jonathan.
Ooh.
If this sounds a little bit like Poltergeist, you would be right. It is almost exactly like Poltergeist.
But it's okay. But it says the haunting of Patty Johnson. But it should be the haunting of Patty Johnson's kid.
Yes, it should be. But Patricia Johnson, she's the only one that really sees it. Okay. It is also known as The Uninvited, also known as The House at the End of the Street, which I have also found a lot of these movies have 7 different titles.
Right. Also known as The Haunting of Patty Johnson's Kid.
Yeah, Patty Johnson's kid, Jonathan. It's not great. But it is a slice of 1996. Sharon Lawrence, Beau Bridges, they heights of their careers right then. Beau Bridges plays a truck driver, so you get like they're moving and pull the horn and truck driver tropes. It's ridiculous.
All right.
It's not good. But I feel like I probably watched this in 1996.
And you didn't turn it off.
I don't know. And I didn't turn it off.
Where did you come across
Tubi.
this? Oh, on Tubi. There.
Tubi.
Okay.
Yeah, this is very much a Tubi exercise.
I think I watched everything on
The
Tubi.
return of Tubi.
But it was really just nostalgia. I mean, for the made-for-TV movie, it may have been a 2-night event. I don't know. For the 90s, this was, she just had been on NYPD Blue. it was silly. It was Poltergeist. It is 90s nostalgia. It is Patricia Johnson, The Haunting of.
A 2-night
Patricia
event
Johnson.
for those, for 50% of our listeners is when you actually had to watch stuff live.
And they split it up like an hour on one night or 2 hours on one night with the commercials in. So it was like an hour of TV or 90 minutes of
what
TV.
What did it originally play on?
CBS, right around Halloween
Okay.
in 1996.
All right.
And
For 50% of our listeners, CBS is a
Channel
network
3.
television channel.
And you could actually pick up off the air.
Or 4, excuse me, it's 4. Okay, back then it was viewed by 8.5 million viewers. Could have been one of them. I don't remember. And it had 3rd place in the time slot. So
Ooh, there you go.
Out of 4.
Yeah.
ABC, NBC, CBS, and Fox.
Come on.
Another title it was known as was Victim of the Haunt. So 4
Home Improvement
titles.
was must-see TV. You had to watch
a
Home
very
Improvement.
special Home Improvement.
You're going to watch Home Improvement or you're going to
Talk
watch
about
The
it.
Haunting
So
of Patty
good.
Johnson?
Yeah.
Come on. What are you going to do?
One of them you're going to talk about AIDS.
Now I'm intrigued to find out what day that was.
Oh, yeah.
October 29th. It was a Tuesday.
Ooh, so they were doing it as like
1996.
they were doing it as like a Halloweeny kind of thing.
Right.
October 29th.
So they weren't up against Friends and Frasier, which was the Thursday night lineup, I think.
Yeah.
sophomore in college, so I was probably at the bar.
Yeah.
So
There you
I
go.
probably wasn't watching Patty Johnson. All right, Eric.
Top
Okay.
that.
Who's
Top-
haunted on your
top that.
list?
Well, I think this is sort of an essential because when you think of a haunting in or the haunting of,
Yeah.
my brain goes first to the haunting in Connecticut.
Yes. That's on my
Or Cunning,
list.
Connecticut, 2 down to Georgia.
Yeah, though that one doesn't make it's like, come on, you can't do that. You can't say a haunting in Connecticut yet in
In
Georgia.
another state. Yeah.
Stupid.
Totally
I
on
like
my
it.
list.
Okay,
Yeah.
so this one I actually gave it a reasonable rating. I would say it's probably 3.5 stars.
I'd go 3.5, almost 4, because there's some
Well, okay, let me-
awesome jump scares.
So this is okay.
Awesome
so
jump scares.
This is after a family is forced to relocate for their son's health. They begin experiencing supernatural behavior in their new home and uncover a sinister history. Primarily, that the house used to be a mortuary where they would do rituals and and summonings, and so that there was a
and creepy tattoo stuff.
just carving up. So the plus side, this is your go-to. This is why it spurred on the titling of A Haunting of, and I bet you also if you go into the IMdB resource things, like how many of them are had A Haunting of came after 2009 when this movie came out, because it was pretty successful.
There are
in
only
the theater.
2 though in the series, A Haunting in Connecticut.
and then the next one is actually in
Haunting
Georgia.
in Connecticut in Georgia,
Didn't see it. It's like it's the same.
by way of I-395.
Right. I think this has a really good buildup of suspense. It has a great ghost backstory.
Yeah.
It has that, when I was talking about, why is this place haunted? It's great. I also like the fact that it picked on the vulnerable people, that the people the Peter who had cancer, the eldest son of this family who's going through chemo or some experimental surgeries. And he's the only one who can see it. Although I think that they had a number of other things. I think they cheated a lot by having like the ghosts moving around the background and the kid, and it's like things that are moving around, and eventually they show the ghost gets animated. But
Yeah.
that's sort of an acceleration of the ghosty pace. I thought, as you said, some really good jump scares. Things that made me bounce out of my seat a little bit. On the minus side, though, I think there's a lot of family dynamic overacting problems. I think Virginia Madsen she gets way over her skis. She's
Virginia Madsen, I'm going to say it right here, right now. She is the best, worst horror actress out there.
Yeah.
she was
in
like
the running. I love her.
lots of histrionics without.
But she's in every. She was actually in the haunting of Molly Hartley, which we also talked about
Oh,
a little
was
bit.
she?
Yeah.
And of course Candyman.
Right.
Where she was great in Candyman, but here she's I get better.
Better.
But this is like there's a lot of bad parenting going on. There's a lot of, I think the dad goes AWOL. There's a lot of leaving the kids home.
That's the part that's strange because the dad's like, all right, well, I know the kid's got cancer and you guys are haunted, but I gotta work, man.
And I'm gonna get drunk. It's like, okay, this was that was kind of sloppy. I think that there were some moments where there's like, hey, teenagers sleuthing, we're going to go to the library and we're going to leave the other two little kids at home. There's nobody at home in a haunted house.
Yeah.
It's like, what are you doing? So that there are plenty of logistical breakdowns in this thing, but
turn off your thinker.
It's you forgive it because the haunts are great. Mm-hmm. Ghosts are great.
Yep.
I think that and I think that the actor Ty Wood, who was the sick teenager, I think he did his job.
Yeah,
well.
he's decent.
And I like the flashback moments where it's like you're seeing back to the 1930s or whatever.
Yeah.
So I give this one a thumbs up.
Yeah.
I think it's worth seeing. It's not going it. Those other movies that I rattled off at the beginning of this doesn't meet that standard, but it sure beats the standard of the rest of the stuff I saw.
Yeah. Did you watch the second one? The Haunting.
I didn't.
The Haunting in Connecticut 2.
Did you see it?
Ghosts of Georgia. Yeah, I did. And
give us the review. What do you?
Well, I what I will tell you is they let loose the plot line way too early, which is it's an underground railroad situation. These are the ghosts of slaves on this specific property that this family inherits. They sort of let you in on that like 15 minutes into the film, and so then you're like, okay, what are we going to do for the next hour and a half here?
And it has absolutely nothing to do with the
Why
Connecticut
stick around?
Nothing to do.
So
completely and totally.
It should have been called A Haunting in Georgia.
Yeah. It should have just been. Yeah, it absolutely should have. I think the thing that's funny though is that. That you didn't touch on much at all, but the whole conceit behind the Haunting in Connecticut was that it was based on the Snedeker family of Southington, Connecticut in 1986, and Ed and Lorraine Warren claimed that this was they were the ones that claimed that this was a former funeral home where morticians regularly practice necromancy. Of course, several people came out and they investigated it. I thought the really funny thing was that author Ray Garton, who wrote the book about it, was employed to. He was employed specifically by Ed and Lorraine Warren to write the supposedly true story, and it was instructed by Ed Warren to quote, "You've got most of the story. Just use whatever works and make the rest up. Yeah. Just make it up and make it scary."
Yeah, I
sounds like most of the movies we're going to talk about.
Yeah. So, but I thought that's the thing. It's so funny was that much like and allegedly the Haunting in Georgia too was based on a true story, which of course has been thoroughly and totally debunked.
And that's one of the things about haunting of movies.
Yeah, so
is that
many of them say based on a true story.
Based on a true story, which is like and there are people who eat it up, and that's why there's these documentaries out there.
Yeah. But the second one again, I don't think it's as good as The Haunting in Connecticut. I do think it's actually pretty decent, and there's a couple scenes that are really, really chilling, and there's one scene in particular I've never seen in a horror film before. So for that alone, I would encourage folks to just watch the entire Haunting in Connecticut collection because it's only 2 movies.
Yeah, it's an easy
get,
and it won't let you down. I mean, it's like it is a flawed movie as I've described, but it's
not a bad movie.
No, it's not a bad movie. It's entertaining, and for a PG-13 movie, pretty scary.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
So, Mike, do you have a backup?
I sure do. I'm going to talk a little bit about, and I never talk about TV, but I did stumble onto and actually watched all of, and I really liked it, was The Haunting of Bly Manor. This is the American Gothic romance supernatural horror drama miniseries. How's that for the ultimate in
This is the
super hyphenate?
Created
by
on
Mike
Max?
Flanagan.
Yep,
This is on Netflix. This was released in October 2020.
I thought this was off the table.
I did too. But it's your backup.
Oh, well, yeah. So this is, of course, Eric, and I think you referenced this earlier. This is based on the 1898 novella Turn of the Screw by Henry James.
The Innocents.
Which I've never read.
And
I've
the
never
others.
read Turn of the Screw. Have you ever read Turn of the Screw?
I've watched the play.
Okay. I think I need to read it after watching
short.
this series. Yeah. I really liked it. Initially I was thrown off by the kids. I was thrown off by the nanny. The acting felt really weird to me, but then I started to see what they were doing, and maybe it was just dumb luck.
Right.
But both the kids and the nanny, because I don't think they're great actors, made each and every scene very awkward.
Yeah.
Which I think sort of amplified kind of the tension around the story. But the story, in a nutshell, for those of you who have not watched it, involves a young au pair from America who's hired by a man to look after his niece and nephew at their family country estate after they fall into his care when the parents die. And then when she arrives at the Bly estate, which is supposedly in England, even though this was all shot in Vancouver, British Columbia.
Such as the way, Slither did the
close
same
enough.
thing, and that was supposed to be Tennessee.
Yeah, close enough.
Yeah.
Close enough. At least it's a British estate.
British Columbia.
Yeah. When she arrives, she begins to see apparitions that precede the haunting of the premises. So, yeah, obviously Netflix threw a ton of money to this, and it shows. The sets are great. The location is great. The house is great. The acting is weird, and again, whether that was just pure dumb luck or not,
A little bit of both.
yeah, who knows? But it does hold on Rotten Tomatoes an 88%. The average on IMdB is like 7.4 out of 10. Which critic was this? Don't know the name of the critic. So if you are
Joseph Perry?
Joseph Perry from the Scariest Things podcast may have said, it may not be as scary as its predecessor, but with plenty of spooky tricks inside its haunted halls and a strong sense of heart. The Haunting of Bly Manor is another solid entry into Mike Flanagan's growing horrorography.
Solid. Yeah, it is solid, but it's my least favorite of his.
But it's a fairly high
Properties.
standard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. For sure.
There was a New Zealand production called The Turn of the Screw.
Yeah.
Which actually,
that's right. And
which was a really lovely version of it because it was about an actress who goes on to play the
that was like a Portland horror, right?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, played at Portland Horror, and I loved it. It was
like 3 years ago.
Yeah, 3 years ago. And the premise is that she's an actress who is asked to do the role of the nanny.
Right.
And the supernatural things are happening on the stage as part of the stage production that she is doing for doing the retelling of The Turn of the Screw.
Right.
I thought it was a really, really clever way to do it and a fresh take, as opposed to The Turning, which was a fairly recent thing with Finn Wolfhard, which just like, no.
Yeah.
So that I think he'd be better off with the Haunting of Bly Manor or The Turn of the Screw, or go back to the 1960s and catch The Innocents, which is a beautiful version of it. So, Liz, you're up.
Haha. Perfect time. I'm going to take the class and quality level way down.
Oh, yeah.
Dial down. Okay. If you wanted a movie that had fascist Italy, people being killed by mosquitoes, and the Tooth Fairy, look no further than The Haunting of Helena, also known as Fairy Tale in Turkey. This is a 2012 Italian film written and directed by Christian Baseglia. It was filmed in Italy. It stars Harriet McMasters Green and Sabrina Jolie Perez. And I will read you the IMdB plot because if I tried to tell you anymore, it's so complicated. A single mother moves into a new house with her daughter. Soon after, the young girl has lost her first baby tooth. She begins to recount that she's having nocturnal visits from the tooth fairy, and it seems the house has a sinister history. Oh, yes, it does. It was built on swamps that, like, Benito Mussolini had people building and expanding his empire. Workers there died of malaria because of all the mosquitoes in the swamps. I did not know Italy had swamps. I learned a lot about fascist Italy.
Heck
because
yeah.
for some reason, she's a teacher in an Italian school about Italian history. She's a single mom now because her deadbeat husband has run off to Cancun with one of her students. So it's just her and Helena. And as soon as these teeth start falling out, she keeps seeing the tooth fairy. Well, the neighbor in the apartment building you have to live into was like, I don't know what they don't call them Nazis, whatever the Italian version of the Nazis are. He was
Fascists.
just a fascist.
Just plain old fascist.
Plain old fascist.
It's very popular now.
So he's a serial killer, but also their house was built over the place where another guy ripped out his wife's teeth because she was smiling at somebody. So this is all kinds of haunted. It's totally ridiculous.
When was this done?
This was done in 2012.
Okay.
What?
The critic Bill Goodkuntz from the Arizona Republic says it doesn't offer anything new to the genre, but chugs along pretty well until all the plot holes begin to pile up.
Holes upon holes upon holes.
It's pretty much. It started okay, where I was like, "Hey, this actually might be interesting," and boy, it just it tanks down. Chuck Brown. Or Bowen, from Slate says the film is so close to the work of Guillermo del Toro that he could almost reasonably be considered filing a plagiarism suit against The Haunting of Helena's producers, because I think it was trying to take things from Pan's Labyrinth, but that was Spanish, and
Sure.
just we'll put it in Italy.
Yeah, that whole the sort of the dark fantasy kind of an aspect. That's
exactly what they were trying to do.
Yeah, but you don't have Guillermo del Toro.
No, you don't. It was okay. It started off okay and really went downhill. The acting is very subpar, but the special effects on our tooth fairy, which is like the haunted lady, she just wants some teeth, but she wants her teeth back, so the little girl's got to find where her husband hid the teeth in the apartment. So the effects were pretty good, but she kind of reminded me of Valak, from The Nun.
Oh,
that kind of look, and always moving at you, from the doorway,
right.
Just flying down the hall at you.
Big focus pull.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah, that's what it's called, focus pull. So, The Haunting of Helena is not winning any awards at all.
We're into that.
I finished it.
There you go.
I finished it.
Atta girl.
And I thought it started out with something that could have been good, but they tried to mash too much stuff together.
Okay. All right.
It also made me think of the Syphil and Ollie cartoon of the Tooth Fairy.
Oh,
Tooth Fairy, and I came for your teeth.
Yeah.
So.
What's the Tooth Fairy horror film from?
I think it's just called The Tooth Fairy. Yeah.
Is it
There's a couple of Tooth Fairy movies that we saw. I remember coming to your house, Mike,
was it
back
the
when
Tooth
you
Fairy?
listed. I don't know, something called something else.
That can be another episode.
Yeah, we'll do Tooth Fairy horror.
Tooth loss horror. Oh gosh.
The tooth name.
So for mine, I have to do a twofer for this one because they belong together. Because we are now at the point where everything there's a lot of slop, but this is kind of fun because this is where I can sort of dunk on the content. So combination 1-2 hit: The Haunting of Sorority Row from 2007, and also The Haunting of Fraternity Row 2018.
All the Greeks are haunted.
They do not belong together, but I'll sort of give you the lowdown on both of these.
And you made it through both the fraternity and the sorority.
He's like, I watched half of each, one movie.
I'm listing these because I actually managed to get to the back end of both of these. So The Haunting of Sorority Row 2007, directed by Bert Kish. I'm giving 2.5 stars. Starring Leighton Meester, Kaylin C. A bunch of you don't need to know these actors because they never amount to anything.
Girl.
So Samantha Willows, a college freshman, looks to pledge to her sorority. Unbeknownst to Sam, it is haunted by a former pledge taking revenge of those who wronged her. Normally, when you see Sorority Row listed, you think it's going to be sleazy, but this is not sleazy.
What?
This was
no sleaze.
What's
the point?
This was a Lifetime movie.
Oh my god!
And I didn't realize it until I'd finished it. It was like, wow, there was
That's
no.
why it was so good.
That was no. It was like that's why it was so schmaltzy. So on the plus side, decent backstory, a legitimate reason for a haunting because it is a sorority prank gone wrong where a girl who was spoiler alert there was a sorority hazing ritual gets out of hand when a claustrophobic pledge was forced to sleep in a coffin overnight and she had a heart attack. And then
not bad.
And she comes back to kill off those who wronged her, including all the new pledges. So I think that was kind of.
But you said was it legitimately a Lifetime movie event?
I didn't realize it was because it's Tubi, right? It's like
right.
Haunting of Sorority Row. Might as well check it out. It's like, all right, I'm kind of hooked into the premise, and it's like,
if it's got the word sorority in it, there has to be some nudity.
There was.
Come on.
It is.
It can't be on Lifetime.
PG to PG-13. It is not very violent. It is.
Wow.
Not, so the minus side on this thing, this seemed to be about 30 girls short of a real sorority house. I
love the sorority house movies where there's like 5 girls.
Yeah,
I think there's more.
There are 3 sisters and 5 pledges. That is not a sorority house. That is, and they make a big deal about how that they are a powerhouse sorority and that they place
not with 8 of you.
Yeah, it's like where's the rest? Where's the rest of the house? And they focus on 3 of the pledges, and there's other 2 pledges in the background, and just as filler material. So there is no teeth to this movie. It's like you kill one of the sorority girls gets killed off by a hot shower, and then one gets which is a very tastefully done shower scene with no hint of
killed
nudity.
by a hot shower.
And then there was one who gets killed
gets
killed off screen. You don't see her. You get one who gets killed by asphyxiation in a car with carbon monoxide. That's pretty much them's your killings. It's not very. It's kind of like so, but it had I thought that the whole thing about the acting was better than you would expect.
Yeah.
But it's dull. Sorry, but compare that to The Haunting of Fraternity Row, which I give 2 out of 5 stars.
Is this
directed
by
by
Brent
Sleaze? This is moderately sleazy.
Oh, good. Thank God.
A fraternity house throws their big winter luau party, but when the fraternity brothers and co-eds begin dying horrible deaths, they discover an evil entity has taken over the house. On the plus side, it's not boring.
Yeah.
It has a mean ghost.
Oh, that's good.
On the minus side,
that
was all I could think. Minus side, too many uninteresting characters with pithy and uninteresting side stories. This is 90% frat party and 10% ghost story. The backstory for the ghost is wholly unremarkable. It seems to be jammed in, that they just sort of tucked in, oh, this house used to be on sort of a crypt. This house has been there forever, and they've never experienced any hauntings. There's no reputation for the hauntings, but they find like when they're
and there was nothing that they did within their fraternity rituals that would sort of manifest the haunting.
They're not doing anything like the thing about the haunting of Sorority Row is
haunted beer bong. Is that what you said, Liz?
Beer pong.
Beer pong.
The ghost moves the ping pong ball into the
there is definitely beer pong going on. They give everybody kind of these little relationship connections, and they're just all stupid. It's like the sorority queen who's jealous and of her boy of the frat king looking at other new pledges and stuff like that, and then there's the stoner guy, and then there's the guy who's too afraid to ask the other girl on a date, and it's like, okay, this is all well and good. Where's the ghost? The last 15 minutes of the movie, the ghost comes out and slaughters a whole lot of people, but he does it the same way. Just their eyes get gouged out, and then they end up like getting thrown around the house. But with bad CGI, it's just. But the other thing that you entered is like this looks like a full frat house. It's full of a bunch of guys, and a bunch of sorority sisters, and you want them all to die. And it's like, and you know me, that's not my thing. I tend to want to find a rooting interest, and I was like, oh, just come on, ghost.
So you were rooting for the beer pong ghost.
Rooting for the beer pong ghost. They found like a tunnel underneath the house, and it was like, oh, look, it's full of light fixtures. What are all the light fixtures for? And apparently it's just to take the shadows out. But, the ghost, it also looked like they tried like 5 different designs for the ghost, and they couldn't figure out which one they wanted because the ghost seems to change. And every time you see the ghost, it's different looking. It's like, it was sloppy in that way. But then again, at a certain point, if you want to see crazy frat party and then a ghost like take out about 70 people in 15 minutes, it's like it's okay.
All right. So what do you give House on Haunting of Sorority Row?
2.5.
2.5 sorority, and then Haunting of Fraternity
2.
2. Oh, Fraternity is worse than sorority.
Yeah, because it's uninteresting characters, poorly acted, bad production values, but it's not boring.
Okay, so brought together 2.25.
Yeah, but they are a matched set. This is
yeah, I like pairing.
It's Greek horror. If you want to see actually
wonderful
a really
date
good Greek-based horror movie, go see Pledge, which is brutal and intense, and it's fun. It's funny, and then it makes you. And
but
then
does
it makes
not
your
have the
flesh
word
crawl.
haunting in it.
No, it doesn't. But
Yeah.
but that's my chance to go out and plug something that's actually pretty good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyways,
All right.
Mike.
You guys thought we were at the bottom of the barrel. We are not at the bottom of the barrel. This is a 1961 film, which I think was about Roger Corman's 6th or 7th directorial film. Even though
I think I know what this is going to be.
seems like his
It's going to be
first.
fun.
This is The Creature from the Haunted Sea.
I thought you weren't going to do
Haunted
this one.
Sea.
Yeah.
This involves which is interesting because this was released in June of 1961, which was about a little over a year before the Cuban Missile Crisis. Even though this film is sort of about Fidel Castro and the Cuban Revolution.
Political haunted horror.
It's a political
tonight.
haunted
The monster is
Yes.
so silly.
So after the Cuban Revolution, a mobster, Renzo Capetto, and his lover, Maribel Monahan, they transport a group of Cuban exiles to the United States with a Cuban treasure to finance a counter-revolution against Castro. And the whole idea is that Renzo, the mobster, he plans to help the loyalists with all of the piles and piles of cash escape on his boat and then kill them and then blame their deaths on a mythical sea monster. Problem is, the monster is real.
Oh no!
It is really a Muppet. And
It looks like I was gonna say the monster looks like Grimace.
it looks like Grimace with like bug eyes. It's well. Here's since you just gave plus and minuses. Here's the pluses. This is like an hour and 3 minutes long. Big plus.
Yeah.
The underwater photography ain't half bad.
Did they take the Muppet Monster underwater?
The Muppet Monster is underwater, and I kept thinking the whole time, like, how in the hell is that guy wearing that Grimace suit underwater? And the third plus is that almost the entire film was shot sort of in and around Puerto Rico. So there's some beautiful, beautiful scenery, some absolutely beautiful scenery and really beautiful beaches, which I'm sure are now developed. But really, really incredible shots. On the minus side, well, it's a Roger Corman film, so you kind of know what you're going to get. Super, super schlocky. The monster is, I guess I would put this on the plus side too. The monster is so ridiculous. It's kind of fun. It's kind of fun, but the film itself is truly absurd and makes very little sense. Although, again, somewhat interesting that Roger Corman was tapped into the cultural zeitgeist at the time and the that he was able to sort of like, not necessarily going to say he predicted the Cuban Missile Crisis, but that it was on his mind enough to make a film about it. And I'm sure it was the fact that, like, you know, he was able to get these locations and this boat in Puerto Rico for probably, I'm going to guess, nothing. Mm-hmm. Like somebody said, I have a boat and we can film in Puerto Rico and it'll be free. And he was like, great, free is perfect.
Sounds perfect.
Let's do free. And then the last thing I will note is that the poster for The Creature for the Haunted Sea is a great representation of all the AIP posters of the time. It's just a great poster.
Actually, you know what the monster sort of actually reminds me more of? They went out and they stole the Stanford tree.
Right. Yeah, put googly eyes, and put some fangs on the Stanford tree. So yes, if you are looking for a fun night in, watch The Creature from the Haunted Sea.
Good silly bad movie.
Good silly bad movie. Yeah. So bad. It's not good. It's just so bad.
Yeah. So Liz, are you going to rescue us?
Yes, I have saved my best for last, and I'd say this is a solid 3.5-star movie.
Okay.
And this is Ganjam Haunted Asylum. This is a 2018 South Korean found footage horror film directed by Jun Boom Shik. It says based on a real life psychiatric hospital of the same name. Who knows? Forgive me to all these stars. I'm not going to butcher all these names, but it is about two guys, Ha Jun and his friend. They are YouTubers and they have a channel called Horror Times, and they go to different horror sites and explore them. You know, that's kind of run of the mill. We've seen this all before, but they decide they're going to get with their friends and they're going to get 3 girls who kind of had written in to come with them to explore the haunted asylum. They're going to live stream it, and they're going to try to get their 1 million views.
What could go wrong?
Spoiler alert, they don't get to 1 million. So our host of the horror channel gets all their gear. They go in there and he says, oh no, I'm not going in. I'm going to sit here and like man the board and watch our live stream. You guys are all going in. So the girls don't know that the guys have kind of scripted some of this out. So, you know, there's some planned scares, and then of course some unplanned scares. And the asylum had been like run by an evil person who killed people that lived there. That's our haunting.
It's an asylum.
It's an asylum, and it doesn't go good for anybody. They don't survive, and they definitely do not get their 1 million YouTube views. Womp, womp. So, according to Wikipedia, when this film came out back in 2018, it became the 3rd most watched horror film in South Korea after A Tale of Two Sisters and Phone, which were both wonderful.
Yeah,
it was also
for sure.
up for awards.
Well, more than the devil, or I Saw the Devil.
I don't think they probably count that as a thriller, I bet.
Oh man, it's a horror movie.
You know, even though it's totally horror, like I feel like that would be a thriller, or like a crime.
More than Train to
movie.
Busan.
Yeah.
Well, Train to Busan hadn't been made by then.
Oh, right.
This is 2018, early 2018. So it was nominated for a bunch of Korean awards called the Grand Bell Awards and the Blue Dragon Awards for actors, actress, editing, and technical awards for sound.
Nice.
So it's a high quality found footage film. It isn't doing anything new. The setting has Session 9 vibes.
I was going to say,
if you like an asylum, but
that's another great ghost movie. Yeah,
that really is. But if it was called Haunted Session 9, I would have picked it. So this is one that I can definitely recommend watching. It's available on Tubi. It's also a sweet 90 minutes long. So we love that. And it's fun. They've got a great cast. You know, everybody, you're endeared to the protagonist pretty quickly. You care about them. You don't want them to all be taken out in this asylum, but sadly, you know that they are not going to make it back because we're horror fans and we know that's just how it works. Don't go to the haunted asylum.
Them's the rules.
Them's the rules. So Gunjam Haunted Asylum, definitely worth your time for found footage fans. And they do a pretty good job of not doing it's shaky cam, but they have a big budget. This Horror Talk YouTube channel, so they have GoPros on the fronts and the backs, facing both ways, so you're not watching someone holding something in their hand. They're rigged on them, so you get a little bit of better quality.
Okay,
yes,
and a little bit something more stable, which unlike say VHS 85, which made me want to throw up.
Yes, so. This one, it's still when they're running, you'll see it and you'll see their faces, but it's a little bit better quality of the handheld camera. It will not make you sick.
Okay. I was going to watch this one, but I ran out of time.
Because
so
there were only 3,000 other ones that you had to do.
Yeah, I know. So I will definitely go back and give this a
I like
look.
this. If you're a found footage fan, add this to your list of things to watch because it's pretty good quality.
All right.
Okay. Well, I'm going to potentially drag down this again because that's what I got left.
Yeah.
But this is one where I think my perspective, because of I kind of have a rooting interest in this one, and so I think I like it more than what the Rotten Tomatoes consensus is. I think the Metacritic has it like at a 4.5, which is not great, not awful.
No,
but this is a movie that's better than it should be, but it still carries a ton of flaws. But this is The Haunting of the Tower of London, which was done in 2022. Which is directed by Charlie Steeds. And I don't know if, for those of you who read my reviews, I've got a bit of a soft spot I root for Charlie Steeds because he runs this, like a Troma-like production out of London called Dark Empire.
Right.
And the movies that I've reviewed, I liked his movie Frozen. I thought The Barge People I wanted to like, but it wasn't very good. And then Gods of the Deep was a hot mess that showed at H.P. Lovecraft, which was ambitious, but when you have a tiny budget and it looks like you made your stuff out of cardboard, it was kind of that's a hard sell. This is the premise. The premise is what sells it here. I was kind of expecting I'm going to watch it, and I'm going to have to pan it because I always end up having to go, I want Charlie Steeds to succeed, but it just, because he uses his same guys over and over again. But this is, when the remains of two murdered princes are discovered at the Tower of London, a troubled priest must put aside his beliefs to befriend a mysterious prisoner who has supernatural powers to communicate with the dead. Together, they must solve the mystery of who murdered the princes as prisoners in the castle dungeon meet their bloody fates at the hands of the prince's ghosts, who continue to haunt the castle seeking their revenge. Now, that's kind of I think there's actually a more of a political kind of a bent to this because, they open the story with dredging the prince's bodies out of the moat around the Tower of London. For those of you who know the Tower of London,
yep. Been there.
And the Queen, and in this case they say it's Queen Elizabeth, but it's not that Queen Elizabeth. It's another Queen Elizabeth, a non-historical Queen Elizabeth.
It's Queen Liz.
Yeah. That's it was Queen Liz Williams.
I've been there.
Right. And I thought this was a good story with some nice ghosty action, typical for a Charlie Steeds movie. It's got a tiny budget with great sets. This movie was never boring, and there are some good acting performances by the man who plays sort of the medium who can see ghosts. And there's a midwife, or not a midwife. The assistant to the Queen is this robust woman who plays sort of this no bullshit kind of fixer, and but it also has some absolutely horrific overacting, which is also a Charlie Steeds kind of a thing.
Yeah.
And it's usually his same actors, Rory Wilton and Tim Cartwright.
Yeah.
If you can put those in the back of your brain, you will see them both of those guys in all of his movies, and they just rage in the background. They're always screaming and roaring, and they cackle. They're. It's one of the reasons why I kind of like his movies. It's kind of like it's his stable of folks.
Yeah.
But the story of the young princes who are coming back eventually, that they start rounding up a lot of the subjects get rounded up and tortured and murdered and buried. And,
Right.
But it also on the minus side, in addition to the overacting, the movie feels understaffed. And this is also a Charlie Steeds thing. It's like they need extras and secondary players to fill in the background because it's like there's 12 people in the castle. It's like, where is everybody else? It's like the same guards, and it's like there's nobody else. It's like
they probably got no CGI budget.
They have it's a micro budget thing, and that happens with I think with Frozen they had like they had this beautiful he has access to this beautiful clipper ship, and it's staffed by like 8 guys.
Yeah,
and it's like, okay, you got he has right contacts, but it's like, how hard can it be just to hire extras or your friends just to sort of mill around in the background?
Well, and it looks like he shot this at this exact same time he shot Werewolf Castle.
He probably had the same. It's almost certainly
which I'm sure it's the exact same story, but you swap out ghosts and replace them with werewolves. But it looks like it was shot at the same castle.
Yeah, but he had access to a castle. I mean, that's the amazing thing.
Yeah.
And,
it's like we're not shooting one movie. We're going to shoot like 5 simultaneously.
Yeah, we've got this castle,
and he always seems to have a great.
We're going to get bang for our buck.
He has a great costume budget, but it looks like they're fresh off the seamstress's sewing machine, and they're walking around in these. It's like
they probably are.
And then it's like, okay, you guys look like you're walking around in costumes. But again. This is I give this 3 out of 5 stars because it's a good ghost story and
a haunted movie that could
and that the guy who plays the medium and the interactions that's got good looking creepy ghosts. Another thing, Charlie, you got to work on you need to figure out how to do gore effects for real cheap. You need to call Damien Leone. He wants to make he wants to do gore, but it's. The stuff, it looks like CGI or it's cheap. It's like it's not hard to do really good gore effects. Because it is R-rated, but it kind of it's limited by his inability to do good gore effects. Anyways,
I feel like it has to be hard.
Yeah.
So, right.
So anyway, so that's I kind of
that is the world of hauntings.
I will recommend this, but this is definitely comes out with caveats of your mileage may vary, and I might be holding out a candle for this director who I want to see do well.
All right, so of the 3 horror films, what is the one you would definitely recommend?
Haunting in Connecticut.
Haunting in Connecticut. Liz, what is the one you would definitely recommend?
Haunted Asylum.
Okay.
Gunjam Haunted Asylum.
Okay, and the one I would definitely recommend is Full Circle, a.k.a. The Haunting of Julia.
So I'm going to throw out a few other ones because you forced us to watch a bunch of these things.
That's true.
Are we going to talk? Are we talking Hillbillies?
Yeah.
It's kind of fun.
Yeah, I'm not going to talk about this long, but Hillbillies in a Haunted House. It's got Merle Haggard.
Yeah.
I don't even think I stumbled across that.
It's a trio of country singers.
Tubi, I didn't say it.
No, it's on Tubi.
It is on Tubi. Yeah, it's like that's the only place you can see it.
There's these singers who, including Joy Lansing, who is kind of like a Carole Lombard, busty blonde country singer. Mm-hmm. and there's these 3 country singers, and they get stranded somewhere in Tennessee, which in a haunted house where Basil Rathbone, Lon Chaney, and John Carradine are hanging out with the guy in a gorilla suit. It is totally silly. And then
I would love to have gone to that rap party.
And half the thing is like they do a country jamboree where they bring out Merle Haggard and a bunch of other country singers who I'm not familiar with, and you sit through that. And then the gorilla gets loose, and it's a spy thriller, and it's totally silly. So Hillbillies in a Haunted House, it doesn't make a lick of sense, but it's fun. Also, a movie that came out last year that Mike reviewed for us that I saw, Haunting in Venice.
Yeah.
That was
Kenneth Branagh.
Looked super decent.
It is on the plus side, minus side. Plus side, it's got big money. It looks fantastic. It's got great acting. The minus side is it's an Agatha Christie movie, and it's got all the kind of complications of an Agatha Christie movie.
Yeah, it's way too complicated.
Yeah, it's overly.
And they didn't.
Tied itself in a knot.
My biggest gripe was they did not use Tina Fey's comedic talents nearly enough.
Yeah.
No, that it was cute, but it wasn't.
Yeah,
it wasn't enough.
They should have leaned way more heavily into that. And they kill Michelle
Michelle Yeoh off.
They
way
killed
too
Michelle
Really,
Yeoh
really
off
fast.
like way too early in the film.
But it surprised me.
But it
was
looks
like-
good. It actually looks
enjoyed
good,
it.
and there's a couple good. I think I gave it 3 stars.
Yeah, I give it about that. So, Elvira's Haunted Hills.
Yeah.
Silly. So silly. It's the Pit and the Pendulum with boobs.
Yes, I was like, oh god.
And it's like
I get it, Elvira.
double entendres everywhere. If you like the cheeky stuff and you like Elvira, it's her best. It's the best thing she's done. It's a lot of fun. Liz, did you try The Haunting of Julia Fields? Did we talk about this?
It was on my list, but I didn't watch it
Here's
because
my-
I was gonna do like all haunted ladies, but I was like, no, they have enough to worry about. Like, let's find an asylum.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. So I actually made it all the way through The Haunting of Julia Fields. My description is I gave it 2 stars. It is generic and unambitious. It's in Florida and it's all bleached out. It's like, not very interesting. The Haunting of Alexis King. I had to bail out on this one. College student being haunted. This is what I thought Mike was talking about earlier. We were talking about another.
Oh, we were talking about I was talking about The Haunting of Molly Hartley.
Yeah, no,
right.
I bailed out on Molly
Alexis
Hartley.
was the bad one.
Alexis King, this is the plus side. Alexis is sexy. Her boyfriend is handsome. Minus side, it's the worst audio that you've ever heard on a movie. It's just like scratchy microphones. It's like, who's the boom operator? He's drunk. Lots of background noise, bad Foley work, not creepy, not scary.
Tubi? Is this on
It's a
Tubi?
Tubi. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because what I pretty much did is typed in the search bar haunting. Tubi popped up 100 things, and then I just went through. And as you hover over each one, it will play like either a trailer or the first 2 minutes of the movie, and I was like, nope, nope,
Yep.
nope, nope.
I did the exact same thing, but I got suckered into. I got
All right, Eric,
suckered into.
you have
Alexis King.
3,980 more to go.
Yeah. Well, I had.
Eric
there
always
was-
looks on the positive side and watches these movies.
There were-
I bail so fast.
I bailed on 3 movies. I bailed on Molly
I'm proud
Hartley.
of you.
I bailed on The Haunting of Pendle Hill, and I bailed on The Haunting of the Queen Mary.
I'm
Molly
proud
Hartley's
of
not
you.
bad. Molly Hartley's not bad. It's not great. It's not bad.
So yeah, it was too late, and I was like,
All right, who's got a tagline to take us out of here?
I do.
All right, Eric's got the tagline.
Said the best one.
Okay,
you
so
said,
this
you
is-
said this is the best one out of all the
Yep.
hauntings.
Yeah, this is The Haunting, or Hillbillies in a Haunted House. See where are we at? Okay, so the tagline: they'll scare your pants off and give you a chill for life. Yeehaw!
My pants were scared.
Hillbillies
Hillbillies in a Haunted House.
Oh, gross.
Scare your pants off.